as a starter. But CB1 listed Devin Witherspoon as the starter. Josh Jobe, some other guys. I think Isaac Waxer's been a little bit more impressive maybe than what that CB1 number 5 ordering tends to indicate there. CB2 listed Reek Wallen, obviously, Shaquille Griffin, Nehemiah Pritchett, Shamar Jean-Charles, etc., on and on. Those were the only 2 starters, quote-unquote, listed at that spot. Safety, meanwhile, had Kobe Bryant, Julian Love as the 2 starters, with Nick Emenwari backing up Julian Love. So this is kind of like not a starter, but there were only 4 defensive back spots listed. The 2 CBs and the 2 safety spots. It's 2025. You're going to play a bunch of nickel. Like, you're going to have a 5th defensive back out there. And I feel pretty good that Nick Emenwari is going to be that 5th defensive back in a hybrid nickel role. Julian Love can do some nickel safety stuff too. Emenwari can certainly do that as well. I'm actually super excited for what he is able to offer Mike McDonald's defense. Like, I think he does a lot of things well. If the one thing that gives me pause about him in terms of just the overall play style and what he brings is, do I trust him enough against shiftier slot receivers in coverage? Tight ends, run support, blitzing, not the shifty, crazy, he's not there anymore, but I would trust him more against Cooper Kupp in one-on-one than I would against Jackson Smith-Njigba, right? But I think the athletic traits are really intriguing. So I think the answer to this question is yes. But does Nick Emenwari start in week 1? Y for yes, N for no. Next up on the depth chart takeaways, A.J. Barner was listed at tight end 1. There were 5 tight ends listed on the depth chart post the Noah Fant release. A.J. Barner was at the top spot, Eric Saubert, then Elijah Arroyo, the rookie listed as the number 3 tight end, Nick Callerup, and Marshall Lang, who, we'll see if they make the roster or not. Barner last year, I think as a compliment to Arroyo, makes a lot of sense. And he's never going to be a dynamic pass catcher. That's not who he is. He'll block his butt off, though, and you want that type of guy on your team. I think Eric Saubert actually does some similar stuff as a blocker because he hasn't ever really been very productive in the course of his NFL career. 97 yards last season. Ooh. Elijah Arroyo, I don't think he's a great blocker. That's okay. He has cut much more from the Noah Fant cloth of he can do some seam work. He can do some dynamic stuff for you as a pass catcher. I think Arroyo might not be the starter, quote-unquote, in terms of snaps. I would not be surprised if he had more catches and more targets and yards and everything than A.J. Barner does even in year 1. So who starts at tight end? A.B. for A.J. Barner, E.S. for Eric Saubert, E.A. for Elijah Arroyo. It's in the game joke there somewhere, but I'm not smart enough to make it. The interior offensive line battle also has several oars listed on the depth chart, which is always intriguing. Oluwatimi listed as 1 starting center. Jalen Sindel also listed as an oar at the center spot. My thought process is Olu ends up winning that job, but Sindel was also listed as an oar at the right guard spot. Anthony Bradford, Christian Haynes, and Jalen all listed as oars, which every now and then you see 1 or 2. You don't normally see a stat level of or across the board. My guess is that this is in order of what the depth chart looked like with who was first in the or. This is how it shook out. Hopefully Abraham Lucas can get healthy, stay healthy. I think Christian Haynes eventually will emerge as a starter along the offensive line for Seattle. I think the oars, if you didn't already have Jalen on your 53-man roster projection, I think you should definitely have him on there. So in the rush designation position on the depth chart, again, it's just pass rusher. I wouldn't read too much into the specific designations, but the rush spot, Tank Lawrence, Derek Hall, Tyreek Smith. Only 3 players listed at that spot. The flip side of that depth chart was the Sam, that strong side linebacker, but is also kind of just going to be a pass rusher. It's the 3-4 outside linebacker. It's a pass rusher more than anything else. Boye Mafe and Derek Hall got the oars. They went a bit deeper on that depth chart reveal. Jamie Sheriff, Connor O'Toole, Jalen Gaines. The asterisk here is that, Uchenna Nwosu was not listed. He's hurt. So he did not count on that front. So I am very curious, is it just Tank Lawrence and Derek Hall on one side and, Boye Mafe and Nwosu on the other, or do they kind of rotate them all around? That's a good top 4 pass rushing unit. Will allow those guys to stay fresh and healthy in theory throughout the season. Next takeaway is, who exactly is wide receiver 3 on this team? Or is it a situational type of deal? The two starters, very obvious, Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both those guys offer inside-out flexibility. Should be a really fun grouping for Sam Darnold to have there in the wide receiver room. Behind Kupp, 4 backups listed. Everyone's favorite, Jake Bobo, the Whites, Cody and Ricky, and John Reese Plumlee. Behind JSN was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Torrey Horton, who I am very intrigued by, who I was a big fan of coming out, Derek Young, and Steven Sims, who we'll discuss at the back end when it comes to special team stuff. I think depending on what type of player you want at wide receiver 3, there's a flavor of ice cream for you. Who do you want, though, as the wide receiver 3? JB for Jake Bobo, TH for Torrey Horton, the vertical threat speedster, which might be just the logical fit as a sacrificial X, so to speak, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, that's MVS, or if it's somebody else, type in O for other. I wasn't going to put this one in, and I almost missed it when I was looking through the depth chart. Jared Ivey is listed at middle linebacker. The grouping was as follows. Ernest Jones, obviously, Tyrese Knight, Patrick O'Connell, Derek Jackson, Drake Thomas, Josh Ross, those were the back ends there. And then Jared Ivey. Jared Ivey is 6'6", 274. He is not playing middle linebacker. Like, I don't know why he was listed there. Like, as a Sam, maybe? I think he's closer to being on the defensive line depth chart than he is at middle linebacker. That one, I didn't really get that one at all. Now, if you are excited for the Seahawks preseason, show it by liking today's video for me right now. Let's run through the remainder of the depth charts just because we want to give the full overview here. Nothing overly shocking with these. Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, Jalen Milroe, QB 1, 2, 3. I think we'll see a lot of Jalen Milroe, hopefully for the best in the preseason. Running back-wise, obviously Kenny McIntosh out for the year. He is on IR. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet leading the way. Could be a battle for RB3. Probably George Holani and Damian Martinez, which I'm not shocked, but is worth mentioning that Martinez was behind Holani. Then it's Jacardi Wright, Donovan Kaufman, the reserves. At fullback, it was Robbie Oots and Brady Russell. I saw some discourse of but Russell's done tight end stuff. Yeah, your fullback in the modern NFL can also do tight end stuff. I mean, Robbie was a tight end at Alabama. So that there's overlap on that. So you could see them, Seattle going, maybe it is just 3 tight ends and a fullback, or they get some creativity there. Russell's a practice squad guy. I do think Oots is the draft pick, though, is the favorite there. Defensive line-wise, the nose tackle stuff was so deep, I just added a nose tackle, too, essentially. Leonard Williams, the only listed defensive end outside of Bubba Thomas, but Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed, who I know they listed Murphy at nose tackle. I think that was just to get him as a starter, essentially. Those guys are going to rotate in. Mike Morris will be involved there, too. They can all play that really almost 1 to 7 technique, essentially. Hankins is a big boy nose guard. Brandon Peely, Quinton Bohanna, who knows the DC pretty well from the time together in Dallas. Those guys are all bigger body, run-stopping nose guards. Not really listed, by the way, was Riley Mills. He's probably going to miss this year with an injury. Special teams, again, nothing shocking. Jason Myers, Michael Dixon, Chris Stoll as the core 3 there. Maybe a slight battle in the return game. Steven Sims, Torrey Horton, Zach Charbonnet in there on returns, along with Demarion Williams. If Horton can beat out Sims for return duties, that would pretty much guarantee his roster spot, which I think he makes it anyway, but is worth mentioning.
The Seattle Seahawks' first depth chart of the year was never going to be routine. Mike McDonald is not the kind of coach who hands out spots on reputation alone. Still, the list they put out before the preseason opener against the Raiders caught plenty of people off guard. This was the first public glimpse of how months of moves, cuts, and signings have actually landed inside the building. Some veterans were exactly where you expected. Others were pushed down, and a few rookies already found themselves right in the thick of it. One of the bigger talking points was safety. Nick Emenwari, the second-round pick with the size and range to be a long-term piece, was not listed with the starters. Instead, he opened behind established names. That does not mean he has fallen out of favor. It looks more like McDonald is giving him time to grow into the role without throwing too much at him. At tight end, Elijah Arroyo had a strong camp, but was still behind Eric Sauber. That choice likely reflects Sauber's experience in multiple blocking schemes and his reliability in protection. Arroyo has flashed as a receiver, but this offense leans on tight ends to handle a heavy workload in the run game and in pass protection. Then there is the offensive line. Gray Zabel, the first-round guard out of North Dakota State, landed a starting spot right away. That is rare for a rookie up front. He earned it with consistent practice reps and his ability to handle both power and speed rushers. His rise sends a clear message. Performance beats seniority in this camp. Every odd placement or early promotion ties back to the decisions made since January. The Seahawks traded Geno Smith, released DK Metcalf, and let Tyler Lockett walk. Those moves gutted the passing attack but freed the team to rebuild around a different style. Sam Darnold was signed to a 3-year, $100.5 million deal to run a controlled, mistake-free offense. He is not expected to lead the league in yards. He is expected to protect the ball, hit high-percentage throws, and let the defense and run game set the tone. Cooper Kupp's arrival was just as calculated. He is 31, he has battled injuries, but he still knows how to get open on third down. The front seven kept his two key veterans. Jarran Reed re-signed to anchor the line. Ernest Jones IV returned to lead the linebackers. Both fit McDonald's defensive blueprint, which relies on alignment discipline and fast adjustments before the snap. Losing either would have created a bigger gap than the team could fill in one offseason. The draft was all about specific roles. Zabel was picked to fix interior blocking. Emenwari was added to help disguise coverages and close space over the top. Jalen Milroe was brought in as a developmental quarterback who can move and extend plays. Those picks explain why the rookies are already showing up in important spots. McDonald made it clear most starters would not play against the Raiders. That decision kept Cooper Kupp, Jarran Reed, and Ernest Jones out of harm's way. It also gave extended snaps to players in battles for starting or rotation jobs. Gray Zabel and Elijah Arroyo both saw action. Zabel held his own against pro-level speed and showed why he has locked down his spot. Arroyo had a quieter night, but stayed solid in blocking assignments. Jalen Milroe's debut was another storyline. He completed 6 of 10 passes for 61 yards and added 38 rushing yards. His composure stood out for a rookie playing behind a mix and match line. He is still learning the system, but the tools are obvious. Torrey Horton, the rookie wide receiver, also made noise. His routes were crisp and he looked comfortable against press coverage. The coaches will not rush him, but performances like that can move a player up the list quickly. Unofficial depth charts are not final answers. Indeed, they are snapshots of the current order as per practice reps, installation schedules, and even veteran courtesy. Still, some patterns are worth noting. Nick Emenwari's spot shows the staff is willing to hold back a talented rookie until he is fully ready. On the other hand, Gray Zabel's promotion shows they are just as willing to push a newcomer straight into the starting lineup if he earns it. The tight end order, likewise, tells you the offense will not sacrifice blocking stability for early flashes in the passing game. On defense, the spine of Reed and Jones remains untouched, and that reinforces their value to the scheme. Over the next 2 preseason games, these early placements will be tested. Injuries, matchups, and live game performance will push players up or down. Elijah Arroyo has a chance to cut into Sauber's role if he proves he can be as steady in protection as he is in the passing game. Emenwari will get more defensive snaps as the playbook opens up. Jalen Milroe is expected to keep developing. If he continues to handle pressure the way he did against the Raiders, he will lock down the backup job. Horton could climb into the main rotation if his practice and game work stays sharp. The Seahawks are not hiding what they want to be. Analysts believe that this team is built to win with control, discipline, and a solid defense. The first depth chart of 2025 shows the strategy in action. How much will it change before week 1? Stay tuned and subscribe. If you haven't already, we'll soon come up with the answer.